Hey everybody, it's Sean from Low Code Approach. Thanks everybody for, all the amazing suggestions that we had all year and guests to talk to and just topics to cover. We had a blast with that. We can't wait to do more and we need your help with more topics at aka.ms/low code topic request. We also need your help with ratings and reviews on whatever platform you use to get your podcasts. So please drop a rating, drop a like, and follow us on LinkedIn at the Low Code Approach LinkedIn group. Can't wait to see you there. Hey everybody, welcome to a new episode of the Low Code Approach. I'm Sean Feeney, a Senior Product Marketing Manager on the Power Platform team. Now, here is when I usually hand the mic off to Wendy, but she is in the land of never, and she said it's so nice they named it twice. That's interesting. So to fill in for her space, we have...
It is I, General Pinchel Jocelyn, Product Manager of Power Platform and Dataverse Security, and I'm joined with...
Ken Aguilar, Principal Program Manager here, preparing for the Snowmageddon of next week in actually Houston, Texas. Yes, it does snow here. Yes, I am really preparing for it. Jocelyn, who do we have with us today?
Well, we have not one, but two incredible guests today. First of all, we have the lovely Miss Prithvi, Product Manager of Microsoft Power Platform Dataverse. And we also have not just Principal Product Manager of Dataverse, but my near and dear neighbor, the man who always makes sure I stay on my furniture promptly, Mr. Oleg. Oleg, Prithvi, how are you guys today?
Pretty good. How are you?
We're doing great. Doing well. Excited to be here.
Nice. So thank you for joining, but I think we kind of gave a clue away with the areas you work in, Microsoft Dataverse. I think that's what we're going to cover. So we're fresh out of Ignite and a lot of news was disclosed. And if it wasn't agent related, it didn't get the airtime that everything else got. So given that in mind, Oleg, what flew under the radar that people should know about that we can give a little bit more love to?
That's a great question. Thanks, Sean. It's not so much that it flew under the radar per se. It just didn't get enough oomph. I'll put it this way. The data in Dataverse, that's what I would love to say that call attention to and say, well, there is actually Dataverse. If you look at the word, it starts with data. So what is the data at Dataverse? I think at Ignite, we actually rolled out pretty interesting and powerful improvements to Dataverse as a data platform, because we have to remember what Dataverse really is. And I think we spoke about it at our a previous podcast. The Dataverse is first and foremost is a data platform. You can say it's a data platform for business applications. You can say that it's a data platform of AI, so for the agents and that, but it's a data platform. For the data platform to operate and solve all the requirements, it needs to answer the requirements of a data platform. In other words, it needs to have tools, technologies, and capabilities to manage data. I just want to stress that because that often, I wouldn't say forgotten, but people say, well, it's just there, right? It's a Dataverse, it's a Power Platform, it's a platform. No, Dataverse is a really powerful data platform. And that's what I would love to stress at. And there was specifically one great new addition to Dataverse that I would love to call attention out, which is Data Workspace. This is a net new thing, which is super powerful and actually answers the data in Dataverse question. That's what I would love to do. At that, I would love Prithvi to give us an insight into a data workspace, because she's the one who helped to bring it together. I was kind of cheering from behind the curtain, but the data workspace, it's really powerful and it has a great potential. Prithvi, go ahead. Give us data workspace.
Thank you for that, Oleg. So yeah, giving a preface of what makers usually is to do. So usually most makers meticulously created their design and their data models by organizing all of the tables and the relationships to suit their business needs, right? And traditionally, this process either required the use of other online tools or kind of putting your data model down on a paper, followed by the manual creation of every single table within Dataverse. Now we have a solution that streamlines the process. And that's the solution that Oleg just mentioned. It is the data workspace. The data workspace is a robust tool that enhances the visualization and the comprehension of like intricate data models. So it offers an entity relationship diagram, which I'll refer to as an ERD view, which visually maps out all of the tables and their connections. So this graphical representation allows makers to effortlessly grasp the structure and the interrelationships of their data. With this view, you can also easily discern how tables are interconnected, identify the primary keys, understand the data flow between various entities, and it's especially advantageous for large scale projects where a clear understanding of the model is absolutely necessary. This visual aid helps in detecting all of your potential issues, optimizing your tables, and ensuring that the relationships are accurate. Moreover, the data workspace also allows you to switch to the data drawer view easily, which allows you to look at the data components of each table in their data model. So you can go for either a horizontal approach of looking at all of the tables together, or you can go for a vertical approach and go into depth of what each table holds to successfully build those data models and promote a more intuitive approach to data modeling. And even making it accessible for users that don't have a technical background. So you can just start using the data workspace, and it's so intuitive that you'll be able to create data models within a few minutes, actually.
That is really powerful. So I'd love to stress it that way. It's a great because it's a podcast, so we are kind of forced to use words to describe user experience. So it just makes us to speak more clearly. So if you remember, Karen, one of the things at the data workspace, you would see the list of tables, you would see list of things. Everything is kind of a list. But with the data workspace, we start to move into area of visualizing data and its relationships. So you can see actually tables that you want to work with. You can see an established relationship that we want to work with. You can see the data in a lower pane. You can see the data preview. So it's pretty powerful. Moreover, you don't have to create like everything one at a time. So if that like three tables that it's created for you. So you just ask, I think Prithvi, that's the way it works, right? You just in natural language, you ask, I want to build a travel advisory application. The copilot under it that figures out like what is a data model for a travel application or travel advisory app. Yes, Prithvi, that's the way it works, right?
Yeah, and I think one of the most exciting parts of the data workspace is its Copilot and its integration with Copilot, which basically transforms how we manage all of that data within Power Apps. So it's like imagine having an AI assistant that's like always ready to help. And you can tell him what to do, and it's just going to do that for you. You're not just going to manually enter all of your data and make updates, one cell at a time, which you usually do manually, but Copilot will now be at your service, ready to handle all of those repetitive and those tedious tasks, such as populating sample data, configuring table metadata, or even updating columns, freeing you up to like focus on creativity and the strategy that you want to use to actually create your data models. So, like you said, you can use natural language commands. If I want to create a hotel management system, then I can just say Copilot, add tables to manage my hotel reservation system. And it will create multiple tables, all with relevant columns, also the relationships between multiple tables, and populate it even with sample data so that you know what's the intention of each column. And you can definitely go ahead and change any of those things, remove things, add things either manually or through Copilot as well. One other thing that is like super helpful with the Copilot is that it also provides intelligent suggestions and insights as you keep working, right? So it can recognize patterns and dependencies in your data and offer recommendations. So going back to that hotel reservation system example, like for example, I have three tables in my system right now, and I'm not sure what other tables I should add to make my data model fully comprehensive. So I can just simply write a prompt to Copilot and be like, can you actually recommend additional tables that would be relevant in my data model? And Copilot is going to suggest other tables that are actually used by the industry in certain scenarios as well, and also based on the data model that you currently have. So, what other things would you probably need to manage within the tables that you have, right? So, Copilot is going to come back with those suggestions that are relevant in this scenario. And I think that's super, super powerful, And that kind of helps the makers, creatively and actually get to all of the corner cases in their data model.
Question. So you're talking about how Copilot is able to help assist and create this new workspace and build out tables and so on. But what if I want to do more advanced tasks? Like, for example, can I ask Copilot to create relations between different tables and build those types of things? Or is that something that I have to do myself as the maker?
You can definitely ask Copilot to create relationships between like multiple tables. So you can say that I want to create a relationship between room and, let's say, the reservation table. And it's going to figure out what's the right relationship to create as well. So you don't have to specify, like, where do I need to add the lookup column or which way do I want the relationship to go. Based on the data that you have and the tables and the logical meaning of those tables, right? Copilot is going to figure out what would be the right relationship in this scenario. And you can always change that. But yeah, it's going to go ahead and provide that relationship for you.
So, a follow up question to that: what if my organization is not ready for Copilot, not ready for AI? Can I still utilize this technology? And how do I go about it if I can't use Copilot?
So you can still use the data workspace without the Copilot. Yes, you can still view the ERD view. If your admin has disabled Copilot for you, that does not mean that the data workspace would be disabled for you, right? So you can still view the ERD diagram and create the tables manually. You can start creating tables either from blank or other sources that we have. So you can still use the great things of visualizing that the data workspace offers. So, yep, definitely.
And for those who are new, what is the ERD diagram?
It's an entity relationship diagram is the jargon in the world of people who like to play with data. These are the tools that are, it's in the whole industry. We didn't invent this. It's been around for more than 30 years. There's a family of tools that allow you to visually create, manage data models. If you want to build a data model, that basically it's a surface with rectangles that you can drag around and type in. And that's
Yeah.
what
It's a WYSIWYG for data.
that's what it is. So
Yeah.
sometimes I affectionately call them rectangle drivers. So this is the ERD tools. I think the key point here is there are two main, I would say, benefits, if you will, of data workspace. A, it gives you capability of a copilot that helps you with data management tasks, and it frees you up from all the paper cuts that you have to do currently when you click and click and click. And because, like, imagine having to add manually columns to 3 or 4 tables. That can be a lot, or just figuring out which table is what. Even without the copilot, you still have a better visual aid, and you have a better representation and a much better user experience. And a better user experience translates into satisfied customers and customers who can actually accomplish what they want without the extra strain and toil. So that's what the data workspace is. And we're not going to stop there. Prithvi, can you give us a little kind of a glimpse into what's ahead? Because we just at the beginning of a journey. It's not like we at the end of it.
Yep, definitely. That's a great question. And so currently you can definitely create new tables like we talked about, right? Either through Copilot or through Blank. But you can also bring in data from like other sources, which I briefly hinted at earlier, which is like Excel and CSV files and even SharePoint lists. You can either drag and drop an Excel file or connect a SharePoint list, and Copilot will automatically configure them as Dataverse tables and migrate all of your data over to your environment. So all the table metadata and the columns will be configured automatically for you through the Copilot. So just drag and drop a file and start using them in your data model. And something that is really exciting and that we just announced at Ignite as well, and something that our makers have been asking for a very long time, is the ability to actually add your existing tables to the data workspace. So not just create new tables, we finally now have existing table support. So yes.
That's exciting. That I was kind of nudging you to the Prithvi. So you say it because at the end of the day, Dataverse has lots of tables and people spend countless time to create table. It would be odd like every time you say, oh, now I start with a new table. So you may have an existing table that actually is great fit for what you're trying to do.
Exactly. And when you say great fit, that also gives me the direction to talk about something that we also have, which is you don't only have to manually add an existing table and choose, which is the right table in your table configuration that you have, but you can just head over to the existing table panel. Just say, I want to add an existing table. And Copilot is going to actually recommend what are the tables in your workspace that would actually be right for you in this scenario. So, going back again to that hotel reservation system that I was talking about, if you have a rooms table already in your workspace, then Copilot is going to suggest that, hey, I think that rooms is going to be relevant table here for your system. So, do you want to add that? So, Copilot is actually going to help you, find and comb through all of the hundreds of tables that people usually have in their environments, right? And it kind of concise that list down to just a few tables that you can easily choose from that, okay, yeah, I want to go ahead and add this one to my data model. One quick thing I would like to mention here is that currently these existing tables would be available in a read-only mode in the workspace. We wanted to continue working and get through things as soon as possible. However, when I do say read-only mode, a couple of things that you can do is you can build relationships from new tables to these existing tables. So you can still manage them in the overall workspace and kind of work with them horizontally, but you won't be able to work with them vertically as of right now. So we're continuously working to improve that experience and make sure that you can fully work with existing tables. So stay tuned to hear more about how we can ensure that you can completely work with existing tables as well.
You're kind of touching on another topic that I wanted to ask about. And I'm a little curious. So we are moving forward with the platform and things move very, very quickly. But organizations also love to have things very structured in terms of like their application lifecycle management practices. So can you tell me or tell us, tell the audience here, how solutions, what role do they play inside of data workspace? Do they integrate? How are they used? Can they help in organizing and managing changes? Can I use solutions? Can you talk about that a little bit, please?
Yep, you can definitely use solutions now. It is also a recent addition to the data workspace. So, what you can do is you can actually head over to your custom solution, and there's going to be an entry point for data workspace right within your custom solution. So, right where you're putting all of your entities and creating all of your good things, you can actually open the data workspace from there. And the benefit of opening the workspace from there is that when you do create these tables and when you do create the app from the data workspace, all of the prefixes that are usually associated with entities created within a solution are automatically going to be honored. So it's going to be inside your solution, and you don't have to go ahead and configure the schema names and all of those good things yourself, right? It's all going to be taken care of if you just enter the workspace from within one of your solutions that you're working in.
That's really awesome to learn. I just want to take a step back for a moment because here with Ken and I, we are the faces of the angry admins. So I know that we have all of these rich capabilities with Data Workspace, but say as an angry admin, I'm still a little skeptical. What can you tell me about the security measures in place to actually ensure data protections within the Data Workspace?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great question. And that's one that like makers ask constantly, that how can we trust it? So just like the workspace itself, any interactions with Copilot Inspect are also protected by encryption. So all of the commands, queries, and the data transfer between Copilot and the workspace are encrypted. So you can ensure that all of your sensitive information remains confidential. And we do not store any of your sensitive information interactions, right? So there's the same role-based access control policies as the rest of Dataverse. And this also means that the actions that Copilot can perform are actually restricted based on a user's role. So it maintains the principle of least privilege. That is something that you would like to see. We also have data loss prevention policies in place, which basically act like a guard dog that is constantly monitoring data that flows to prevent accidental and or malicious use of or share of sensitive information, right? And also, one other thing, if you're worried about, oh, what if Copilot hampers what I have? So all Copilot actions can absolutely be undone. So there are no permanent changes that are going to be made in your data workspace until you actually go ahead and save all of the tables or build an app on top of it and save that app, right? So anytime you ask Copilot to do anything, you're going to see a tiny undo button there. And it's going to, if you don't like what it's done, you can just go ahead and undo those actions, or you can manually like undo any actions as well. So I think that really helps me in trusting the Copilot as well, and also kind of letting me play around a little bit more, because I know that if by chance it does something that I don't want, then I can always, go back in time and just undo all of those things.
I just want to amplify this part because I think we're hitting on one kind of a constant kind of a droning theme, right? So like, oh, will Copilot or agent or our AI just take over and do everything and just do horrible things and I won't have control? So no, that's not the way we handle it. So human maker or the admin, they're still at the center of decision making. It's an aid. It's a very creative, very powerful aid that helps you do your job. The decision is with human. Yeah, you still need to, because in the age of AI, especially, people start to like imagine all sorts of things. At the end of the day, it's a very powerful kind of implementation of a specific mathematical algorithms that help you do your job. It helps you discover insights. It helps you do your automate your tedious tasks. Just as Prithvi was saying, create a column or create your relationship. It's like a 15 clicks here and there. We just want one natural language phrase, you can do it, but the decision is yours. And we take this philosophy across. I'll give you another example. Like, last time I spoke, when we met, I spoke about, oh, we're getting ready to ship AI assisted mapping in Power Platform data flows. Guess what? We did. It's in public preview. We're going to soon GA it. It's there. And it uses the same kind of a mental principle. When you map from source to target, it will help you map columns. It will figure out which columns match. But it doesn't lock you there. You can override it. You can make your own decisions. You can make your own solutions. It will tell you that that's not going to work, but it's up to you. And we use that approach throughout our products, like import from Excel, the duplicate and when Prithvi was talking about the read-only mode, by the way, she wasn't talking about data, right? You were talking about metadata. So you can't change metadata of existing team, but the data can flow in and out. So that's totally fine.
I just want to punctuate the point that you're saying about the true power of AI. I've been reading a lot of articles about how various CEOs across the industry are describing AI as the next electricity, meaning that it is empowering all of us to be able to do more. It's not doing everything for us so much as it's equipping us with all of these great new capabilities to even expand our potential even further than we've imagined. And how I see this conversation today is your data workspace is the current that's really flowing through that electricity, metaphorically. You know what I mean?
I love that analogy. I think I'm going to use that when I can. Thanks.
Part of my physics brain goes, but that's okay. Yeah. So as a metaphor is great. Yeah, I think that where you get really great, Jocelyn, with this metaphor is that as people, we go through phases of getting more and more empowered with technology. It was the steam engine, and then it was electricity, then it was internet, and then like if you map one constant thing is there, all these things help us to be more creative. They free us up from either difficult or hard or dangerous or tedious or manual work. So you can actually think not in terms of, oh God, how do I like add these 5 tables to something? And by the time you throw third table, you forgot why you're doing it in the first place. So you can actually focus on your creative part of you, the building an app, figuring out what your customer requirements are, not worrying about this big manual tasks. That's what kind of a next level. And that goes for everything, right? So if you write in a report or you constantly publishing an update to something, agents help you collect information. They help you summarize things. They help you do. They're not replacing you.
That's a good point, Oleg. So I just want to ask real fast with Data Workspace, we're making all these changes. We're visualizing the data and the flow of that data. And as you're building your solutions, incorporating existing tables and new tables that you're creating for these solutions, how are we tracking changes? Like, how do I go back and see what changes have been made with Data Workspace, adding new sets of data, adding new tables, connecting existing tables to it? and make sure that everything is okay. Like you said, Copilot can help us with natural language and, add these new tables and everything. We still have a person that actually confirms these decisions and everything. But what if I want to go back and take a look at the changes that were actually made through Data Workspace? What's available to me as an app?
Data Workspace is not something as a sidecar to Dataverse. It's just a user experience on top of existing Dataverse infrastructure, meaning that all features like audit, for example, they still apply. You change the table manually or you change the table via Data Workspace, it's still subject to audit. It's still subject to DLP, the data retention policy. It's still subject to the DLP. So all these things are still in play. So we don't introduce a parallel universe to Dataverse. It's an improved user experience on top of Dataverse. So all security, RBAC security, everything completely applies to whatever Data Workspace is created or created via Data Workspace. So it's not overriding any of it. So if you don't have rights to certain table, you will not have rights to that table via Workspace. Or if you have an audit turn on for a table and you changed it via Data Workspace, for example, you added column or you added relationship, you can still see it. So all admin monitoring, ALM as an application lifecycle management tools and technologies apply. So Data Workspace is just a better user experience on top of it. It's not a replacement or the sidecar to Data Workspace.
I got a question for you, which I don't normally ask because this is brand new for me anyway. How can someone provide feedback, or if they need support, do they go through standard channels? Is there a specific place that you want them to say, oh, hey, this feature would be nice if you add this? Do you have any centralized location for a customer to provide feedback and, of course, support or get support?
Yeah, right within the data workspace, actually, makers can, click on that table of share feedback. There's a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And as soon as they click on that, a text box will open up saying, do you want to provide more feedback? Do you want to provide what you tried and what didn't work so that, we can ensure that these scenarios are also something that we cover? Or do you want to say, oh, I actually want to see these columns supported, or I want this feature to also be there in the data workspace. So they can actually use that directly within the workspace, and it wouldn't take too much time. And we would love to get all of the feedback that we can through that feature so that we can, as we're working through this, we're going on this journey
Before you go
together,
too
right?
much further, I actually had a customer ask me one time, hey, I've been putting in feedback. Do you actually read that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let me let you in on a little secret. So Prithvi, myself, Jocelyn, like our life consists of constant design and like XR reviews. We do reviews for user experience, right? You propose a new feature, you do this. The first and foremost, you're not gonna move anywhere with this presentation if you don't cover that one. It's like on the top is what customers told you that this is needed.
Yeah, even after we ship out products, we have regular product reviews, monthly product reviews where we go through all of the feedback and we look at all the feedback and look at what is the next steps, or what are some of the things that we need to make better in the experience that we already have. So you can be rest assured that all of the feedback that we're providing is definitely reaching to us, and we're constantly monitoring that feedback and taking that to improve all of our features one step at a time.
It's not that we're gonna get 100% right off the first bat because we have billions of users and they all have conflicted. But we build what we build based on what we hear from our customers. B, as you ship it, we ship public. That's what the previews are for. You ship for the public preview. The purpose of public preview is to collect feedback. So we collect verbatim feedback. We constantly look at our telemetry to see how well the feature is doing. And that is how we actually look at that. So this is very dear to us. We love feedback. We always try to participate and organize and all that, like a customer related MVP forums, the customer forums, the emails, whatnot, looking for it. So that is a great, we build it for our customers. We don't build it for ourselves. So like getting the signals from all over the place, it's super important for us.
Thank you so much for all of those channels, Oleg. And if all of those channels happen to fail, customers can always pull up and paste in the background of my calls with Oleg and chat about all other
Somehow
thoughts.
people find you.
That's my
Somehow people
favorite.
find
They definitely do.
Oh, always. But I think we got to have these two back for a day in the life of a PM
Yes,
episode.
we need to, because there's always like a magic attached to it, but it's really always starts like how people use my stuff, right? Like what do they do and how they do it. And sometimes people use that so ingenuinely creatively that you go like, really? I mean, I didn't think of it when I was shipping it, but let me improve it. Let me put it in a product. So that's really awesome experience when that happens.
I think that would be a phenomenal audiobook that we would record. It's too short, or it's too long for a
Yeah.
podcast. Podcast too short for that. Hey, listen, like we just went through like a half an hour of talking about just one of the amazing features of Microsoft Dataverse, and it's huge. And for those that are just like, whoa, I need to learn more about Dataverse, or I need a primer on Dataverse, episode 64, we had Oleg on, and he kind of demystified Dataverse with us at a high level of what it is, why you use it. And now we're getting into some of the exclusive features of Dataverse and how that works in Power Platform and empowers organizations. So, two things. One, we're getting both of you back on this podcast because there's just so much more to cover. Second thing, customers, listeners, if there's topics in Dataverse that you want us to go into deep dive, please hit us up on LinkedIn. Ken, Jocelyn, myself, Wendy, Oleg, like anyone with Dataverse associated with them. And then give us everything that you want to know, and we can get you anything you want to hear.
Yep. So we'll bring more guests if we don't like if we ask we don't know. We'll bring you the subject matter expert and he'll give you everything there is to know.
Exactly. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for joining us, and we can't wait to talk more Dataverse soon. Thanks everybody.
Great. Thank you.